My best friend cornered me between classes and didn't waste time. Are you hooking up with Mr. Miller? It started the day I stood up in the middle of his class. You see, no one interrupts Mr. Miller. He writes in cursive like it's 1850, calls us by our last names, and he even once gave detention for yawning. The man treats his classroom like a military base. No bathroom passes, no exceptions. So when I stood up right in the middle of his monologue about supply chains and said, bathroom, the entire room froze. Miller didn't even flinch. He just nodded and said, go ahead. That silence was unreal. You could hear the hum of the fluorescent lights. Someone dropped a pen and actually whispered, did he just let her go? Another said, no way. No one gets to leave. When I came back, everyone was staring at me like I had just hacked the school's mainframe. By next period, it got worse. Ms. Parker's version of strict isn't yelling, it's psychological warfare. She smiles while she crushes you. If you ask to go to the bathroom, she'll tilt her head and say, do you really need to? In the same tone dentists use before a root canal. She has a laminated red sign above her desk that says, no bathroom breaks during class in Comic Sans, like the font makes it friendly. Halfway through her lecture, I stood up again. Didn't even raise my hand. Just grabbed my stuff and said, bathroom. She looked at me, paused for half a second, and sighed and waved me out. No hesitation, no lecture. When I came back, my best friend was waiting in the hallway with eyes wide like I'd just walked out of an interrogation. What do you have on them? She hissed. On who? Mr. Miller, Miss Parker. You've got dirt on them, right? Are you? She lowered her voice. Are you screwing one of them? I froze, because I definitely wasn't. And I definitely didn't have dirt on anyone. But explaining the real reason, that wasn't happening. So I said the first thing that came into my head. You have to read them. Watch their micro expressions. She blinked. Like, psychology? Exactly. I had no idea what I was talking about, but it was better than the truth. By lunch, half the school knew. Word spread like wildfire. I'd cracked the teacher code. People were saying I could predict how a teacher would react before they even opened their mouth. One kid called me the reader. Another said I'd mastered behavioral compliance. It got ridiculous fast. The next day, a group dared me to try it on Mrs. Hoffman, the meanest teacher in the building. She's the reason everyone in AP Bio develops anxiety. She once made a kid cry for asking to sharpen his pencil during a test. So naturally, I agreed. Half the class turned to watch. I waited until the tension was unbearable, then stood up, tilted my head slightly, and said, bathroom. Mrs. Hoffman stopped grading papers, glared at me, and sighed. Make it quick. A kid in the back dropped his pencil. Someone whispered, she's too powerful. And just like that, the myth solidified. By the end of the week, people were dissecting teachers' body language like they were decoding ancient texts. If they touch their desk, it's a yes. Never blink first. Tilt your head left for math teachers, right for English. None of it made sense, but every time I asked, it worked. Every single time. Soon, no one else even tried to ask. Kids were too scared of doing it wrong and breaking the code. They'd rather hold it than risk being denied. The whole school turned bathroom breaks into a superstition. Teachers started catching on. They'd stop mid-lesson and look around because 30 students were silently staring at them, waiting for a bathroom cue. The psychology teacher thought she'd accidentally inspired a mindfulness movement. The principal even called me into his office. He leaned forward and said, whatever system you've created, hallway wandering has gone down 40%. Keep it up. I just nodded, trying not to laugh. But the rumor didn't stop there. It grew bigger, meaner, and somehow more ridiculous. By the end of the month, kids I didn't even know were whispering whenever I walked by. Some swore I was blackmailing staff. Others said I was dating someone on the faculty. Then one morning, the principal called me in again. This time he looked serious. He said teachers were feeling pressured, that I'd been manipulating authority figures and creating inappropriate dynamics. I could feel my stomach twisting, not from nerves, but from the same reason this whole mess started. My hands were shaking, and I knew if I didn't leave soon, things were about to get way more embarrassing than a rumor ever could. He waited. I stared at the clock. I almost said it right then. Almost told him everything. But could you imagine explaining to your principal that the only reason half the staff lets you leave mid-lesson is because your digestive system has its own agenda? Yeah, no. Finally, I sighed and said, honestly, I'd rather the whole school think I'm sleeping with a teacher than admit the truth. He frowned, which is, I have a nurse's note, I said, because I have severe IBS. That's it. That's the big secret. I'm not hypnotizing anyone. I'm not blackmailing staff. I just really have to use the bathroom when I have to use the bathroom. He just stared at me for a few seconds, completely silent, then quietly slid the hall pass across his desk. So, I added, standing up, can I go now? Like, right now?